In the previous section, Lu Feng had already asked to meet the woman after some negotiations, and to the surprise of Lu Feng's group, they were amazed because our client was a beautiful and intelligent woman. So what happened next? Let's start the story. Aileen immediately remarked that Lu Feng arrived later than she had expected. Lu Feng felt a bit flattered because the woman had waited for him. Leo was greatly impressed by Aileen, who was the goddess of AI and also a legendary programmer who could live forever through the use of highly advanced AI programs. The boy felt incredibly blessed today. Zia then patted the boy's head and stated that their boss was the true goddess. According to her, Aileen was just a woman who worked harder than a robot. Irritated by the chatter of the two kids, Aileen stretched out her hand and asked them to be quiet. Because Aileen knew that Lu Feng knew her grandfather, the young man had to know that her grandfather despised those who took the easy way out. Aileen deliberately gave the young man a chance to board this spacecraft because Lu Feng was personally requested by her grandfather. Lu Feng replied that he didn't care what the girl thought of him. He only came because he accepted his grandfather's request before he died, which was to help his grandson achieve his dream. Aileen was surprised and asked if the young man even knew about his dream. Lu Feng confirmed that, because of that dream, Aileen had to live until she completed the Shadow AI program version 3.0. Aileen bowed her head with a sad expression as she confirmed Lu Feng's words. As the end of their world drew near, death had become commonplace, but before the Shadow AI 3.0 program was completed, the girl had to stay alive. The Shadow AI 3.0 program was a program that could protect the human world, which was Aileen's vision along with her grandfather's. The world was running out of time, and only this program could save humanity. Lu Feng asked who was targeting Aileen. The girl simply replied that she wasn't interested in her enemies or had the energy to investigate them. But she suspected it might be the Shadow World system itself or their competitors who were also developing their own Shadow AI 3.0 program. Because this program was a profitable project, she would make it open source. So it was natural for them to be in the same field as her, wanting the girl dead. With a determined look, Lu Feng assured that as long as the girl was on this ship, she wouldn't die. Aileen knew that well. Besides, once she reached the space station, she would exchange ships and head to Mars with the outer space forces. So that's when they would part ways. The girl didn't forget to thank Lu Feng for accepting her grandfather's request. After that, Lu Feng and his entire team left Aileen's private room. Outside, members of the Devouring Shield Guild had already appeared. They suspected that the amateur group was expelled very quickly by the client herself. Even the only woman in the group cruelly stated that the place was not a playground for amateurs like Lu Feng and his group. With a wide smile, the girl mocked them to go home quickly. Unexpectedly, Lu Feng spanked the girl very hard, leaving her startled with a flushed face. The bald man in the group even shouted and cursed at Lu Feng for daring to do something untoward to their member. Lu Feng denied it, saying that they were the first ones to consider him an amateur, so he decided to do what amateurs do. Only then did crude curses come from the girl who fell victim to Lu Feng's mischief. The short-haired girl wanted to cut the longing for the young man or cut the rest of her life. But Lu Feng completely ignored their words and continued to walk away, saying that he warned them not to create conflicts among the guild while working there, or their mission would be destroyed. Mr. Jack warned all his members to calm down and let their group go. Mr. Jack was sure they would get a chance to return once this mission was over. The bald man could only curse vehemently, threatening Lu Feng's group that their days were numbered. Zia retorted their mockery by sticking out her tongue. Mr. Jack realized that Lu Feng was not an ordinary young man. Upon returning to his room, Ling Yu realized that his boss had placed a nano-sized tracking device on the short-haired girl from the Devouring Light group. Lu Feng smiled widely when he realized that he could never hide anything from Ling Yu's sharp senses. The girl, who was a cold-blooded killer, asked, "What's Lu Feng's next plan?" The young man replied that he didn't know yet, but he was sure everything would be more interesting. The young man invited them all to leave because now it was time to enjoy some leisure time. Zia was the happiest figure in the group when she heard about the party. 3 days later, while everyone was asleep, suddenly Lu Feng and the entire team felt a very strong tremor that woke them up from their sleep. The red alarm indicating danger had been on since earlier, and the system kept warning because asteroid impacts had been detected. So everyone was urged not to panic. Zia was shocked to hear that the cause of the problem was an asteroid impact. The flight path of the Avalon aircraft had always been safe, and its ship had a strong radar system. The ship should have been able to detect potential asteroid attacks within just 3 hours. Lu Feng hurriedly checked the aircraft system and realized that the radar had been destroyed before the ship was launched. So this ship had lost connection with the outside world, and the young man worried that the place would soon turn into chaos. Panicked, Leo asked if the enemy came from Aileen's rival program. He thought those people were crazy for doing all this just to kill one person. Lu Feng quickly put on his coat and replied that according to the sequence, the asteroid impact was just the beginning, so it was time for them to act. Meanwhile, outside the aircraft, the entire crew was busy repairing the damage to the aircraft so that everyone could be safe as soon as possible. But suddenly, a terrifying creature appeared that disturbed their work. When the creature opened its mouth, sharp teeth encircled its entire mouth instantly, and in an instant, the monster managed to devour the ship's workers. The system kept buzzing with warnings of danger because the space creature had now begun to enter the ship. So the passengers were asked to evacuate to the nearest shelter immediately. This warning continued to buzz several times, indicating that the situation was very dangerous. Everyone on the ship was running frantically, trying to save themselves. The security forces advanced, aided by special weapons, attempting to kill every monster trying to enter Miss Eileen's laboratory. Meanwhile, the Devouring Guild was busy venturing deeper into dangerous territory. They had been warned by the aircraft's guard that the zone was too hazardous, so they should leave. But the guard was swiftly attacked, and they continued to flee without any sense of guilt. Mr. Jack said everything would go according to their plan. After the ship was destroyed, there would be no evidence left of them, so they had to quickly complete their hidden mission. The people in black attire continued to run as fast as they could toward their destination while clearing away any monsters blocking their path. Their agile and swift fighting style indicated the qualities of experienced professional killers. Upon reaching the laboratory, they realized it was time to kill Eileen and then escape using the escape pod. But as the room's door opened, a laser shot directly toward the chest of the bald man from the Devouring group. Slowly, the door opened to reveal Lu Feng, smiling widely as he welcomed them, saying it was a coincidence to meet again in such a situation. Lu Feng felt no guilt, even as his hand that had just fired the shot lowered slowly as if intentionally showing their opponents that he was the one who had shot their comrade. Old Man Jack was shocked to see Lu Feng's group there. With a panicked expression, he asked what the amateurs were doing there. Lu Feng answered honestly that he had tracked all the movements of the Devouring members, even the flow of money to their bank accounts. They were highly suspicious, so Lu Feng used nanobots to monitor all their movements. After the two groups faced off, Mr. Jack boldly asked who the young man before him was. With calmness, Lu Feng replied that his identity wasn't the main issue here. But in reality, all the members of the Devouring Guild had been hypnotized by him the whole time, starting from when he patted the girls butt in their group. Through the activation of the Nano Spy Boy, Lu Feng could trigger hypnosis at any time. So the young man had just done it, deliberately making all the members of the Devouring group believe they were heading in the right direction towards Miss Eileen, when in fact, they were going the opposite way. Now, Lu Feng snapped his fingers as it was time for all the Devouring group members to wake up from the hypnosis. But that didn't mean they were free, as they were all immediately restrained by Leo's shadow wolf's tail. Old Man Jack tried to negotiate, saying it was all a misunderstanding. He tried to plead for the release of all his members and to speak politely as someone with manners. However, in his heart, as usual, Old Man Jack would deceive his opponents first until they were released, then kill all of them without hesitation. Ignoring Old Man Jack's words, Lu Feng asked Ziya to do the honorable job and send them all to their maker. The girl looked hesitant and asked if she had to do it. Lu Feng explained that it was necessary because they were fighting against a very strong intention to kill. Hearing this explanation, Ziya hesitated no longer. She immediately activated the intracranial explosion technique, targeting the brains of their opponents and destroying their heads in one go. After that, they left the room as they had to protect their client immediately. In her lab, Eileen was facing a big problem as many monsters were coming into the room, but the knights protecting her were few. They hid behind a table and slowly crawled out of the room. But the plan had to fail because Dr. Eileen stepped on an empty bottle, attracting the attention of all the monsters. Realizing their hiding place had been discovered, the commander ordered everyone to run away from the place. The monsters immediately surged towards them, causing chaos. Shouts and roars echoed, filling the room. The knights tried their best to protect their clients by continuously warding off every monster coming towards them. Initially, many knights protected the professor, but before they could reach the exit door, the knights had all been defeated by the monsters. Professor Eileen was in a panic. She kept running as fast as she could without looking back. The girl was desperate and almost gave up, but when a monster almost caught her, a huge shot stopped the monster. Professor Eileen fell right in front of the Breaking Dawn Guild, who arrived at the room just in time, even though Lu Feng was not with them as their leader. Ziya felt relieved they made it. At that moment, dozens of monsters appeared before them. With a cold expression, as usual, Ling Yu pulled out her long-range rifle and immediately incinerated several monsters. Ziya also caught quite a few monsters with enthusiasm. The short-haired girl told Leo it was too dangerous there, so she asked Leo to quickly take Miss Eileen away from there. The boy quickly grabbed Miss Eileen's arm, protecting them both from the monster's attacks with Leo's shadow wolf. They soon arrived at the emergency aircraft door. While running, Eileen asked Leo where their boss was. Leo hastily replied that Lu Feng went to the deck because the Devouring members killed all the crew responsible for piloting the aircraft. so their boss tried to fix all the destroyed machines. Eileen was surprised to hear the boy knew how to fix the spacecraft. Leo replied that his boss said the problem was very simple. The spacecraft of this size must have a backup system in its kernel, so Lu Feng explained he just needed to readjust its circuits. But as they were almost reaching the emergency aircraft, suddenly the room exploded as a huge monster boss appeared. Miss Eileen panicked, realizing the monster before them was the mother of all the monsters that had been attacking their spacecraft. Leo quickly took steps to summon his shadow wolf and face the monster boss in front of them. But unexpectedly, the usually strong and terrifying wolf monster was thrown against the wall with a single flick of the monster's tail. Leo fell and held his head in pain as his shadow was attacked so violently. Miss Eileen was very worried about the boy and asked if he was okay. Leo tried to endure and replied that he was fine even though his head hurt badly. Ling Yu appeared to help them with her long-range rifle, continuously firing missiles. Ziya followed suit. They realized the ugly monster had callous skin. Since they couldn't penetrate it from the outside, Ziya would try to destroy the creature from within. But before the girl could use her technique, suddenly the giant monster roared, causing everyone's ears to hurt. Even Ziya's eyes and mouth were bleeding. Then the three of them were captured by the monster's sharp tentacles. As the creature approached Eileen and prepared to step on her with its sharp claws, Lu Feng pulled her body away in time and took her to a safe place. After that, Lu Feng drew his sword and began slashing the monster's tentacles that had captured his comrades. After everyone landed, Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief because everyone was now okay. Leo handed over this big creature to their boss to be defeated. Lu Feng replied that it was not a problem while patting Eileen's head. Then the young man stepped forward to face the monster boss alone. The young man smiled thinly as he said it was time for his giant silver wings to act with a new performance. With a swing of his hand, the young man drew out his large weapon. The mechanical giant stood towering, equal in size to the monster ahead of them. The monster boss roared again, making everyone cover their ears in pain. Lu Feng quickly took action by instructing the giant wings to silence the creature. With one powerful blow, the mechanical monster managed to silence the monster boss. Then the giant wings raised its arms high to unleash a powerful fiery attack. Although the monster boss had been hit quite a bit, it could still jump to attack the giant wings. So the mechanical monster caught the alien monster's arm and immediately froze the tentacles that were wrapping around its body. Because of that attack, the monster's body was damaged, but it couldn't evade since it was already caught by the giant wings. With its strength, the mechanical monster successfully froze the alien monster boss completely. Then the body of the monster boss was lifted high by the giant wings. Lu Feng immediately instructed the creature to throw the frozen body of the monster boss out into space. So with one throw from its powerful mechanical arms, the frozen body of the monster boss was thrown out of the ship and back into space. After that, Lu Feng opened the hologram screen and ordered the Avalon ship to repair the ship's damage with nanobots as soon as possible. The advanced ship system immediately understood the command and quickly sealed all the holes and damages in the ship. Within seconds, the holes in the spacecraft were successfully restored. Only then could everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Eileen was amazed to see Lu Feng able to take control of the Avalon maintenance system. But suddenly Lu Feng said that although the ship could defend itself, he did not allow external communication and did not have an autopilot system. So for the rest of their journey, Lu Feng would pilot the ship himself and safely take Eileen to the Mars space station. Eileen was even more surprised to hear that the young man knew how to pilot a spacecraft. She thought this was Lu Feng's first time going into space. Lu Feng confirmed the last statement but said he had gone through all this for years in training. During that time, he had tried to pilot a spacecraft in the hope of escaping the time loop. But unfortunately, all of it was in vain. Besides, Eileen didn't need to stay there all the time. She needed to rest. Later, Lu Feng would tell her when they had arrived on Mars. The young man immediately headed to the cockpit, leaving Eileen still stunned in her place, wondering, besides giving birth, if was there anything Lu Feng couldn't do. She was amazed at where her grandfather could find a human like a god like Lu Feng. Meanwhile, in space, the body of the monster boss floated aimlessly. But eventually, the monster's body encountered a very strong energy from Austin. The big man was contacting someone to report that he had helped others to redirect the asteroid that should have hit the ship. He didn't want to be responsible for what happened next. The figure on the other end replied that their deal was done there. They would send 1,000,000 awakening potions made artificially as payment to Austin to help him create individual awakened forces. Austin smiled happily upon receiving the notification. For him, it was excellent news. Finally, the client fulfilled their final agreement. After the call was disconnected, Austin's body ignited, and he darted away like lightning, saying that after this, there would only be slaughter awaiting the Awakeners. After jumping through the wormhole, 3 days later, the Avalon spacecraft finally reached Mars, and they reached the Mars space station. The special forces there welcomed Eileen's arrival and all members of Lu Feng's team. because now only that group remained to protect Eileen. Lu Feng said he had completed his task of safely bringing the professor to the station as promised. The Mars Space Security Forces thanked them for their hard work in protecting Eileen. Lu Feng replied that he was just doing what was necessary. The development of Shadow AI now depended on Eileen. The female professor said she would do everything to perfect the system, and together they would surely find a way to end the final raid in the Shadow World. They shook hands as a sign of good cooperation for the future. Ziya felt very happy because today she witnessed the greatest moment in human history. After that, these two groups parted ways. Ziya was very happy because finally their mission was complete. Then Leo asked what they would do next. Lu Feng coughed briefly before answering that as a thank you for the success of this mission, the client raised them to VIP guests for their journey back to Earth, so they would have unlimited access to entertainment facilities. So it was time to party. Lu Feng and Ziya were the most excited and enthusiastic when it came to talking about the party, while Leo, who didn't understand anything, just thought the two were very noisy comedians. As for Ling Yu, the girl stared out the window of the spacecraft. She saw the beautiful scenery of planets and galaxies, thinking that finally she found reliable and trustworthy companions. The girl hoped to meet her brother in them. Ziya's shout woke her up from her reverie, and she hurriedly went with them. 10 days after the space journey, Lu Feng was brushing his teeth in the toilet when he received a message from Eileen informing him that, based on Ai's calculation, the first shadow world that would swallow a city in the real world would appear within a week. For now, they still didn't know the general location of the tragedy's appearance. However, once the girl managed to gather the information, she would immediately contact Lu Feng. The young man knew that the shadow world would invade the real world, but it was happening faster than he thought. As everyone knows, since the emergence of the Shadow Gate, and to become stronger, they would plunder the shadow world as well as the monsters in the shadow world. They would invade the human world, or, more precisely, rush into the human world through the gate to create the greatest destruction on human land. Lu Feng increasingly wanted to level up to face the invasion. The young man realized that the enemies they would face were far more dangerous, and defense was the top priority now. When he looked at his status on the hologram screen, he thought about getting artifacts that would enhance his defense strength significantly, giving him the highest chance of survival. So he immediately selected some locations in the shadow world to train and gain strength again. After thinking for a while, the young man pressed one of the pictures and registered to enter the shadow world. A few moments later, the shadow world gate at one of the basements had already been crowded by people wanting to enter it. But suddenly, a luxurious car approached the crowd and stopped right among them. Then Miss Anya came out and immediately scolded the figure in the car to stop sleeping and get out of the car. The figure being scolded was Lu Feng. The young man was still rubbing his eyes with a tired face as he walked out of the car. People immediately talked about it because his face was already famous as a legendary boy toy that was viral among people. Because the young man was caught dating Dui Luo, and now he was playing with Anya, who was famous as a lady tycoon, to get to that place. They were even surprised to see Lu Feng asking the director to be his wake-up call. According to them, it was outrageous. Lu Feng was puzzled as everyone in the place looked at them. He asked why everyone was looking at him like that. Anya replied that it was because of him, because he always bothered her to join this shadow world raid. Because of him, Anya had to cancel some important meetings. Some even dared to say that Lu Feng's group managed to solve the crisis in the Ice and Fire City. But according to them, Lu Feng, a beginner, was useless, while the director next to him was extraordinary. But they wondered why the two lovers went to Shadow World Level D. Finally, the entrance gate to the Shadow World opened. Everyone rushed into the large gate, including Lu Feng and Miss Anya. The young director understood that Lu Feng would feel bored going to the Shadow World Level D alone, but he wondered why the young man always dragged him, a director who was always busy. With ease, Lu Feng called the girl darling when asking her to calm down. Because the world could end anytime, so why was the girl still worrying about meetings? Lu Feng intentionally taught her to go there to get some fresh air because he thought the girl must be very tired after working hard. After passing through the interdimensional gate, they all entered a world called Alien Ruins. The place looked very terrifying, like a hot desert but full of aircraft and planet ruins. Everyone seemed to see hell on Earth. They could already feel the extremely high difficulty just entering that area. Moreover, sandstorms could come at a threatening anytime. One female player said they just needed to retreat to the ship located to the north and survive until tomorrow afternoon. Then the world boss would die because of the hot afternoon sun. So she suggested everyone leave the place and find shelter before being buried alive by the sandstorm. Everyone immediately followed the girl's advice and ran towards the aircraft wreckage located in another corner of the sand mountain. Seeing people running away, Anya asked Lu Feng if they should also follow those people. The young man replied no because there was something he needed to teach. Then casually he took out a shovel and handed it to Anya, asking her to start working there immediately. Anya immediately got angry because she had come so far just to dig sand. Lu Feng explained that he needed to estimate the location of the item with his head's ability, so he would trouble Anya with manual labor. If she wanted to help him, Lu Feng would give her a potion level, namely the Heart of the First King. Instantly the girl's face changed to shock with a happy expression. She was annoyed because the young man always knew how to pin her down with something she wanted. After a while, Lu Feng just sat in the aircraft wreckage while checking the location he wanted through the hologram screen. He directed Anya to dig 100 meters in the direction of 10 o'clock. Anya kept cursing angrily while yelling because the young man seemed to treat her like a rough worker. Lu Feng asked her to stop complaining because he was also thinking and doing hard work, so they could be said to be working equally hard on this mission. But Anya kept complaining about the amount of time and money spent on gym equipment and a not small body, but now all that was gone because she had to dig sand for Lu Feng. Suddenly, a group of creatures resembling zombies gathered and approached Anya. The girl was shocked and asked what creatures they were. Lu Feng replied through the earphones that they were Sob Robo. So initially, the place was a world with very advanced technology, but after a great war, it turned into a wasteland. So the monsters were humans who previously lived there. They became zombies due to mutation. Anya started to panic because the number of monsters surrounding her increased. She asked if she should move to a different digging point. Lu Feng replied that it was not necessary because he would handle those zombies. Lu Feng sent a special aircraft with quite a high speed. The plane immediately shot down all the zombies closest to Anya, then flew away with the zombies following it. Anya was surprised because the young man was already prepared with all those ridiculous gadgets. At a time like this, if Lu Feng had said he was from the future, she would have truly believed him. But this time, Lu Feng told her to focus on digging and not to waste stamina talking. He instructed Anya to move to the next location, 500 meters away at 4 o'clock. Anya was starting to feel very tired. The girl's breath was heavy, her face sweaty. She began to curse because the young man seemed so insensitive. She thought all he knew was how to exploit her. Angrily, the girl asked how much longer she had to dig. But even though Anya screamed as loudly as possible through the earphones she was wearing, there was no answer from there. Suddenly, the young man with a cold expression was standing beside her, saying that the way Anya called him with such affection, it seemed as if she missed him. Anya, shocked, immediately shouted that she didn't miss a pervert like Lu Feng. Anya was just annoyed that the young man didn't respond to her call. She had thought something had happened. Lu Feng casually replied that there was nothing wrong, just a small leak. Lu Feng apologized for making her dig for so long, but he appreciated Anya's help. Now they would start the next step. But before that, they had to face the zombie invasion. Just after the young man finished speaking, the drone he had used to get rid of the zombies suddenly flew past them, followed by hundreds of zombies behind it. Anya panicked and immediately shouted why the young man was bringing the zombies to them. She was sure Lu Feng was crazy and his brain was left at home. Before Anya could comment further, the plane immediately shot down the zombies with a huge burst of fire. Thus, the hundreds of zombies were immediately annihilated in one attack. Along with the clearing of the zombies, a special aircraft slowly emerged from the dune. Anya asked what ship this was, and did Lu Feng know from the beginning that there was a spaceship trapped under the desert sand. Lu Feng explained the reason he asked Anya to dig was to determine the exact location of the spaceship. On the other hand, a large sandstorm with evil spirits was heading towards them. Anya was shocked with a frightened expression. She asked what terrible creature it was. Lu Feng replied that it was the boss of this shadow world. So they had to get into the ship immediately because it was very dangerous there. After jumping into the plane, Anya was confused because she didn't see the entrance. Lu Feng immediately took out an energy ball and placed it in one of the corners of the plane. Before slowly entering the plane, Lu Feng asked Anya to be careful with her steps, because it turned out their entrance was not smooth. The two lovers fell quite hard into the plane. But fortunately, Anya fell right on top of Lu Feng's body. The young man felt a little awkward, so he asked how long Anya would sit on his body. Because they had landed now. Anya was shocked and felt very embarrassed. So she quickly stood up and asked what the young man was looking for here. Lu Feng replied that he was looking for a set of armor, an X-level battle suit. Of course, Anya was surprised to hear that the young man wanted armor at a heavenly level. As they walked through the corridor, Lu Feng explained that in general knowledge so far, there were two types of shadow worlds. One was endless, and the other was the type that kept repeating, while the other was a hiding world that only appeared once. But some were permanent until the end of the world with a limited number of appearances. The ruins they entered now only appeared 3 times. Because it had appeared twice before, this would be the last appearance. There had been a prolonged war in that place, a war between humans and artificial intelligence. The disadvantaged humans then created a regenerating battle suit in hopes of fighting artificial intelligence. But when sent, the plane carrying the battle suit was attacked. Unable to defeat the machines with artificial intelligence, humans had no choice but to release the nuclear warheads and announce the death of that world. Thus the very advanced battlesuit had been buried for who knows how long under the desert ocean. After a while of walking, they finally reached the core of the plane. In that spacious room was a cube floating and unfinished. When Lu Feng approached the cube, Anya asked why the battle suit looked like that. Lu Feng tinkered with the cube and explained that it had a defense system. Someone would only be able to activate it by knowing the sequence of cubes well. Just after finishing talking, this young man successfully arranged the cubes properly, and slowly the object floated, followed by the active spaceship. Slowly all the components in the plane merged into the brightly glowing cube, after which the advanced armor suit resembling a human was formed. Anya, who was now standing outside, was amazed to realize that the entire spaceship was part of the battle suit in front of them. The system announced that they had successfully obtained the battle set rank SSS, Venturous. The item was an adaptive war suit. Venturous was made using the best technology from the ruins with impenetrable defensive capabilities. The available skill was that this armor could transform into any form desired by the wearer. Anya was impressed and thought this battle suit was extraordinary. She wondered if the two previous individuals had managed to get such a battle suit. Lu Feng replied that only one person had managed to get it, but what was taken was useless. To unleash the power of the battle suit, they needed a core located within the boss of that shadow world. Just after this young man finished speaking, a large sandstorm with the face of a terrifying creature approached them. Anya panicked immediately because this monster boss was very frightening as it had sand following wherever it went. The sandstorm was capable of swallowing anything in its path. They had to escape as soon as they could. But Lu Feng said it wasn't necessary because he was currently tinkering with the system on his hologram screen until suddenly a bright light appeared amidst the sandstorm. Lu Feng explained that it was the solar furnace he was looking for from the Apollo spacecraft. Its energy was equivalent to the energy of the sun, but it would take some time to take effect. Anya now understood why the young man said they needed time to set it all up. Slowly the light of the solar furnace became more dazzling, equivalent to the real sun. People hiding in another plane were amazed at how there could be a shining sun at night. The weight successfully got rid of the large sandstorm, as well as the monster boss controlling the storm. Then slowly a shining golden gem descended toward Lu Feng. Without hesitation, this young man took it and placed the gem right in the middle of the Venturous armor chest. Instantly, all the systems in the battle suit lit up and automatically merged into Lu Feng's body. Anya immediately commented that the young man looked a little cool with the armor on his body. Unfortunately, the solar furnace was about to explode, so they had to leave before getting trapped inside. Lu Feng also needed to return to the real world soon because some operations were waiting for him. Quickly, this young man transformed his armor into an advanced motorcycle that sped away very quickly. The system finally announced that the last boss of the alternate planet had been destroyed, so the mission was over and all the survivors would be teleported in 1 minute. Just after they moved away from that place, a very large explosion occurred from the solar furnace. Fortunately, they managed to survive.